the phased method of applique, you're going to need the printed out template shape page. You're going to need a lightweight or shear weight fusible interfacing, and you'll need your sewing machine. For this method, you do not need to make a separate template. We're going to trace these shapes onto the smooth side of the fusible interfacing. I'm using a friction pen for this, and this would be my favorite pen to trace the shapes with because it's going to iron away when we need it to. If you use a regular pen, there is a chance that this is going to shadow through on your final shape. So here's one that's done, and if I had used a pen here, that could peek out along the edges. But this is my friction pen, so I'm tracing on the smooth side of the interfacing, and I want to trace exactly on that line. Okay, I've got both of my shapes traced, and I like to have about 1 inch clearance around my shapes on the interfacing. And this is going to get placed on top of the fabric so that the right side of the fabric is facing the bubbly side or the dotted side of the interfacing. And I am going to pin this in the middle, and then we're going to take it over to the sewing machine. All right, I'm ready to stitch these down. I have an open toe applique foot on my sewing machine, which gives me complete visibility. It makes it a lot easier to follow the line. I have a neutral thread in my sewing machine, and my stitch length is set to 1.5. And I'm going to stitch right along this line. If you have a presser foot pressure adjustment, you can lessen the amount of pressure on the presser foot so that it makes it easy to turn underneath the foot. Stitch over my beginning stitches just by a couple to kind of seal that edge. And now we're going to cut out the shape, and I'm using pinking shears for this. And it helps to ease the fabric around the curves when we turn it right side out. If you don't have pinking shears, you could just use regular scissors. At this point, I'm going to trim close to the point, so I'll just go straight across. Pull this away from the fabric and make a little snip in the interfacing. And then I'm going to cut a slit in here so that we can turn it right side out. So I just get my finger in there and pull it through the hole. And then I like to use some kind of a point turner to get those edges to come out nice and smooth. Oops, I poked right through the interfacing. Did you see that? So this interfacing, which is the Pellon 906F shear weight, is definitely sheer. So be very careful when you do this. So it looks like that. And then you can use this to just smooth out the fabric along those edges. I will also take a pin sometimes if the point isn't very pointy. I just take a little pin and try to poke out those points a little bit better if I can. I'll probably do that on this one. There you go.